folks, welcome back to Elliant Counseling Services and AllNeuro Pathways. We are going to continue to talk about communication skills and demonstrate what is unhealthy versus healthy. We are going to get guidance today from Carson Meredith, one of our therapists at Elliant Counseling Services. Before we get started, let's chat just briefly about domestic violence and or verbal abuse in the relationship. If there is verbal abuse or domestic violence, physical abuse in the relationship, we highly recommend that you seek support for domestic violence and or anger management prior to working on healthy communication skills. Okay, I'm going to hand this over to Carson as she helps us navigate healthy communication skills today.
Great. Thank you both for coming back. I think we got a great insight last time on what was frustrating for both of you and how to continue to have a friendship. So a lot of what I heard can be addressed in 3 separate chunks. So the first one that we have here is we really want to identify how we're feeling and express that in a way that can be validated by the other partner. And so the first thing we have here is a list of emotions that has uncomfortable and positive emotions. The reason that this is important to use this list is because as humans, we have a tendency to say statements like, I feel that you didn't do the dishes, or I feel that you showed up late. Those are our perceptions and our thoughts. So when we use I feel, we want to stick to emotions because all emotions are valid. With that being said, when an emotion shows up, we're going to use that I language that I was talking about. I feel this way, so we can take ownership of our behaviors and our emotions. This is important so that we can limit some blaming that would create some defensiveness in the person that we're trying to communicate with. So I will hand this to you guys so you can look over that. This list is important because that's going to help us identify some of these perceptions that we have. And so that's going to be able to create language around, this is the story that I'm making when things like we show up late or we don't show up on time for one another. The story that I make out of that is maybe I'm not important or I'm not worthy of our time. So that will help us identify some of those perceptions that we have. The last thing that we have here is our speaker listener. And so what this is really going to help us with is using that I language, that we're going to take accountability for our own thoughts, our own actions, and really focus on listening to the person that's speaking. And the best way that we can do that, so I'll hand those both to you, is we're going to have a blank piece of paper for the person that's going to be the listener. So when we're actively listening, oftentimes we have thoughts come up. It's a very natural thing to have. So what we want to do, rather than interjecting when our speaker is speaking, we're going to write it down. So anything that shows up, thoughts, feelings, emotions, go ahead and put it down so that you can come back and have your full attention on what our friend is trying to say. Any questions on any of that so far?
I don't think so.
Wonderful.
Sounds pretty straightforward.
Awesome. So who would like to speak first?
Well, I think because Andrea is bringing the complaint to me and she's very upset, I think it would be most important for her to start.
Wonderful.
I agree.
So then, Linnea, what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to hand you this blank piece of paper, and you're going to actually draw a line down the middle.
Okay.
So one side is going to be for what Andrea is saying.
Okay.
Wonderful. And so anything that you hear from Andrea, you're going to just write that down.
Okay.
Because the point of that is when we can summarize back as the speaker, it's going to help our speaker feel very validated. You really heard me. And if there's a mistake, right, then she has the opportunity to say, actually, here's what I meant. And so then the other side is going to be for your thoughts, feelings, and emotions that show up when Andrea's talking.
Okay, great.
Any questions on that?
It looks like a line right through the middle. On the left-hand side, I have Andrea, so I can write what she's saying and stay on track. On the right-hand side, I put my information, so I don't have to keep thinking about it, and I can pay attention to her.
Wonderful.
Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Wonderful. Great.
Okay.